What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90, and I have returned from my holidays and we're kicking it off with week 36 of the Premier League. And I want to give a massive shout out to Bubble Smasher, who went and left his predictions for the last week's video. If you want to be featured in the next video, the Premier League is coming to a close, so if you want to get featured in the next video, leave your comment down below for what you think the results are going to be of the week 36 games of the Premier League. Now, before we get into that, we're going to take a look back at some of my week 35 predictions. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon, so I don't yet know the result of the Chelsea-Burnley game, but as an Arsenal fan, knowing my luck, Chelsea are going to win that game with ease. But let's look back at the week 35 results and my predictions for them. Now, I actually predicted these week 35 games a couple of weeks ago, like before, for instance, the Man City-Tottenham game. I predicted that before both legs of the Champions League. I had to do these predictions way in advance in preparation for my holiday, so it'll be interesting to see how we got on regardless. So anyway, kicking it off, we have Man City versus Tottenham. Basically, I thought that it was going to be a 1-1 draw. I thought City were just going to slip up a little bit, but they managed to get a 1-0 win thanks to some very good work from Edison, keeping them keeping the title within their own hands. The next game was Huddersfield versus Watford. I predicted a 3-0 win to Watford. It was a 2-1 win to Watford, so close on the score, but still right result in the end. The next game, I predicted that Leicester beat West Ham 2-1. It actually ended in a 2-2 draw, but I think both teams to score was my main shout for that game. The next one, Bournemouth versus Fulham, I predicted a high-scoring 2-2 draw. It was a 1-0 win to Fulham, which that was one of the shock results of the weekend, to be honest. The next up, I predicted Wolves would beat Brighton 2-0, and despite all their shots, all their domination in that game, it was actually a 0-0 board draw. Coming up, Newcastle versus Southampton. I thought Southampton would give Newcastle a bit more of a test. I put a 1-1 draw. It was a 3-1 win to Newcastle. After that, I predicted that Everton would beat Man United, but I thought it would be a 1-0 win. I gave Man United's defence way too much credit, given the shambles that it is in, and Everton won 4-0. It was such a funny game to watch, to be honest. When Everton were 1-0 up and they went on the break for the second goal, even when they were in their own half and there was only 2 Everton players up there, and by the time Sigurdsson received the ball ready to line up his shot, there were like 6 Man United players actually back at that point. There was barely anyone up there. I said to my dad as they went on the attack, I said, oh, 2-0, and he said, who's going to score it? There's no one up there. And then Sigurdsson absolutely batters it in. So, quite a few people are giving De Gea a buy on that one. I know the defenders could have done better. They could have closed Sigurdsson down a bit more. They shouldn't have let him take that shot. But De Gea, if you watch it, he hesitated. He should have just gone. He could have stopped that, a keeper of his quality. But either way, 4-0 win to Everton. After that, Cardiff, Liverpool, I predicted a 3-0 win to Liverpool. It was a little bit more nervy than that. Only a 2-0 win. James Milner's penalty seeing it off. But Cardiff had an absolutely amazing chance to equalise with Maddison's header. Unable to put it in the back of the net, though, from about 3 yards out. Unbelievable how he missed that. It was an open net, just hit the back of him. But either way, Liverpool continued to push in the Premier League. Arsenal, Crystal Palace, I predicted a 3-1 win to Arsenal, and it was a 3-2 win to Crystal Palace. So well done, Arsenal's defence. We're back to normal. Prior to that, 7 or 8 games conceding 1 goal, including a double tie against Napoli, and we only conceded 1 goal to Jagielka against Everton, and now we concede 3 to Crystal Palace. So well done, Mustafi and co. You're keeping us on our toes for the top 4 race. But moving on, we have the week 36 action. Kicking off, we have Liverpool versus Huddersfield. I was going to go with a 5-0 win here, but I'm going to go with a 4-0 win because against Cardiff, Liverpool, they struggled to really be as clinical as they should be against teams like that. I think it could have been 4 against Cardiff, but they just could not put the best chances away. So I'm going to go with 4-0. It's not exactly a much of a step down from 5-0, but I'm going to go 4-0 win here, Liverpool. It's at Anfield. I don't see Huddersfield doing anything whatsoever in this game. It would be great if Huddersfield could make it difficult for Liverpool. It would be fun to watch, but I think Liverpool will be too strong at Anfield here, and I'm going with a 4-0 win. The next game is Tottenham versus West Ham. Tottenham, unlucky, I guess you could say, in a way, to get nothing out of Man City, but there was that challenge on Bernardo Silva that I've seen those given as penalties. I'll put it that way, at least. And VAR might have had something to say about that and might do in the future seasons of the Premier League. But Tottenham, they're still playing well. They're looking good without Harry Kane, as they have been all season without Harry Kane. And I think this is going to be an easy enough win for West Ham. I think West Ham were unlucky against Leicester, but I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Tottenham here. I think Tottenham are definitely finishing in the top 4. I think Arsenal not bearing the penalty against Tottenham and then blowing it against Crystal Palace, and Man United blowing it against Everton, and seeing Tottenham's run of fixtures compared to the others, I think Tottenham are going to get more points than the other 3, even from this point on. forgetting the fact that they have a point advantage on Arsenal and Chelsea and 3 over Man United. I think Tottenham are cemented into top 4 now. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win here to Tottenham. The next game is Southampton against Bournemouth. Bournemouth coming away from last week with a very disappointing loss against Fulham, giving Fulham their first away win of the season. And Southampton really not really turning up as you'd expect against Newcastle and losing 3-1. I am going to go with a home win here, Southampton. Bournemouth aren't great on the road, even though it's about a 40-minute drive between the two grounds. I'm going to go with a Southampton win. I'm going to go for a 2-1. The next game is Fulham versus Cardiff. Now, I think Fulham are going to try their hardest. They're going to try and bring Cardiff down with them, but I'm going to go for something that I don't think I've predicted once this season. A Cardiff win, ladies and gents. I think Cardiff have to win this. I still think they're obviously the most likely to go down. I think Brighton's draw against Wolves definitely helped them out, that 1 point that Brighton managed to get, but Cardiff are still in the running at this point, and if they want to get promoted, I feel like they have to win this game. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Cardiff. Oh man, it'd be great if the first win I predict for Cardiff did come off as a win. I'd really like that. And I'd like to see Cardiff push Brighton all the way, and just to see who can survive this year, because it's pretty much between Cardiff and Brighton. Maybe Southampton if they lose all their games, but I've tipped them to beat Bournemouth this week. So I think it's between Cardiff and Brighton. I'm going with the Cardiff win against Fulham, who are already down. Next up is Watford versus Wolves. Two of the sort of standout teams, been doing very, very well this season. Watford, they do have the FA Cup to think about in the distant future, which is great for them. And Wolves, they'll almost want revenge on Watford, even though, did Watford send Wolves out? They did, didn't they? They will 100% want revenge on Watford for knocking them out in the semi-final of the FA Cup. But I think Watford are going to be too strong. I think Deeney should still be suspended, right? Because it was a straight red. I think that's a 3-match suspension. I could be making that up, but I think Deulofeu stepped up to the plate once again without Deeney against Huddersfield. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think if I had to pick a winner, given that Deeney was out and Wolves would want the revenge, I would probably go with a 2-1 away win to Wolves, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw between the two teams. I think Watford at home will have enough to hold the Wolves off. Coming up after that, we have Crystal Palace versus Everton. Both teams coming off a fantastic week against the top 6. Everton beating Man United 4-0 and Crystal Palace beating Arsenal 3-2. I think Everton played exceptionally well and Crystal Palace took advantage of Arsenal's frailties at the back, as obviously did Everton with Manchester United. I think there's going to be a great game. High scoring, as you can see, both teams, they scored 7 between them in the 2 games. I think Everton, given they're away, they're at the slight disadvantage in terms of, getting the win. I would expect Everton to win this game at Goodison Park against Palace. But as Palace are at home, even though traditionally they tend to be better away, as they showed at the Emirates, it's just so strange. I think the disadvantage for Everton going away from their home ground is a greater disadvantage than Crystal Palace at their home ground, even though they don't perform particularly well there. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in this fixture. The next game is Brighton versus Newcastle. Brighton really are struggling now at the moment. They have been dragged in to the bottom ever since really they lost to Cardiff. It feels like, wow, hang on a minute, they're still very much involved in this relegation scrap. And although Brighton do perform a lot better at home and Newcastle don't perform as well away, Newcastle have been looking good. Rafa Benitez, he's been getting them doing the right things, and I'm going to go for a Newcastle win, partly because in my head I want it to make the battle for relegation, for safety, for 17th spot over 18th more interesting. I'm going to go for a Newcastle away win, obviously the perfect result for Cardiff, them beating Fulham and Newcastle beating Brighton. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Newcastle. Coming up, big game for the top 4 and implications for the rest of the league and how it finishes. Leicester versus Arsenal. Now, obviously, Arsenal aren't as good on the road, but they have since beaten Watford and Napoli away from home, I think, in their last 2 games. So, bouncing back a little bit. Both only 1-0, and Watford definitely dominated Arsenal for a vast majority of that game, but they managed to get it done. And I think, given that they lost at the Emirates, they really have to do something here. I think Brendan Rodgers will make Leicester push, and I think Leicester are a great team, but I think they were quite lucky to get the draw against West Ham in the end. I think West Ham did have a disallowed goal. I'm not entirely sure, that shouldn't have been. But I'm going to give Arsenal the edge in this one. I'm going to go for a similar to the Crystal Palace result, a 3-2 to the away team to Arsenal to keep pushing them into the top 4 spots. The next game is Burnley versus Manchester City. Now, Man City, I'm going to change my result here, actually. I think it's going to be about time they score a couple more goals. I originally had 2-0 to Man City against Burnley away from home. I'm actually going to go for a 3-0 win to Manchester City. Now, City, obviously, they, again, have got the FA Cup, but that's in a while. They don't have any Champions League football to worry about anymore. It's all about the Premier League. They are going full force, even more so than Liverpool can, because even though Liverpool will put out their best teams each week, they're still going to be thinking about the Champions League. Man City don't have that to think about. They're putting out their best team as if it's a cup final every single week. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Man City. And no disrespect to Burnley, it's just Man City have to win this, and they are going to win this. The next game is Man United against Chelsea. Now, I've predicted Man United to lose a few times in the past, and I've had quite a few negative comments directed to me because of that, like when I predicted Man United to lose to Everton, like when I predicted Man United to lose to PSG at Old Trafford. Sometimes I get a feeling when Man United are going to lose, and often it does tend to come off, and I'm going to go with a Chelsea win here. I think Chelsea, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen them play against Burnley tonight. They might play absolutely dreadful, which if Chelsea do lose, it would make the top 4 race very, very exciting. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Chelsea away from home. I just think Man United have really struggled. They're really just struggling to... What is going on? Maybe Man United will bounce back. Obviously, I don't know their result against Man City, but I think if Man United lose to Man City, which I expect they will, they'll feel like top 4's out of their hands anyway. I think their players' morale is already very low, especially after getting thumped by Everton 4-0, having lost 5 away matches in a row for the first time in nearly 40 years at Manchester United, right after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's been appointed the new permanent manager in what seemed dreamland for United. It's just all gone wrong for them at the wrong time, and the perfect time for Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs. And I just don't know if Man United are going to be strong enough against the likes of Chelsea. They can scrape a draw against West Ham and Watford when West Ham and Watford have clearly outplayed United. And they're the only 2 games they've won under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since he's become the main manager. They're not going to get away with that against Chelsea. So I'm going to go with the 2-1 Chelsea win here. Man United could surprise me and win this one, but I'm going to go with the Chelsea win in this one. So that is going to do it for the week 36 predictions. It's coming very, very close to the end right now. If I just show you if I just mention my upload schedule real quick, we've got the so the week 36 predictions, which is this. Then in 4 days time, we've got the Champions League semi-final predictions video. 2 days after that, Europa League semi-final predictions video. A day after that, Premier League week 37 predictions. Like 9 days after that, Premier League week 38 predictions, which is the final week, and then a few days after that, I'll be reacting to my Premier League table predictions. Then I'll do an FA Cup final, Europa League final, and Champions League final prediction video after that. And then as the summer goes, we'll see what we can do, whether it's some kind of prediction video, discussion videos, that sort of stuff on the full 90. But we are coming towards the end of the season, and I just want to thank you guys for the support on the first season of the full 90. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to start again in the next season from the very beginning. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Leave a like on it, subscribe today, turn on the bell so you don't miss a single of those uploads that I just mentioned, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.